Hi, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Lindsay, and we're the relationship coaches.
You're here today because you've cheated on your partner or your partner has cheated on you. And that is a really painful thing to happen in a relationship. It's quite common, and that doesn't make it any easier. So today we're going to give you 5 steps for what to do next, for how to move forward and get past the pain and into the healing process.
Yeah, exactly. So first, let's talk about, well, what is cheating?
What is cheating, Linz?
Yeah, well, my answer is going to be different than your answer, which is going to be different than every other person's answer that's watching this. So some people think of it as the really big thing, right? Like the physical, like my partner had sex with someone else. Or some people think of it as like, well, my partner has a relationship with someone else, whether that's physical or emotional.
Yep. For some people, cheating is that your partner went out with an ex-partner for lunch and didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Or that they even have any friends of the opposite sex whatsoever.
Yeah, and that they're texting with them maybe. So it can be small and it can be big. And at the end of the day, if you define it as cheating, then you're going to feel that pain and that hurt.
One thing that we have noticed is that a lot of couples don't talk about what cheating is to them in their relationship. And so there's this sort of ambiguousness around it.
Yeah.
And so we're curious, have you talked to your partner, about what cheating is? Do you even know, what crossing that line of infidelity is?
To them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing that you should definitely consider. But right now, we're going to assume that you've clicked on this. So you believe that there has been infidelity in your relationship. So Lise, let's jump into 5 steps to moving forward and moving past that pain.
All right. So step 1 is to feel all the feels. So you're in pain, whether you've done something or it's been done to you, it hurts. And a lot of times we go straight into anger or blame, and that's okay, right? So maybe you're feeling angry. Maybe you're blaming your partner for what's happened.
Maybe you're just sad. Maybe you're just so sad. Don't move past the sadness. We are giving you permission right now. This is your permission to feel all those feels and to know that feelings are never right or wrong. Never.
So whatever stage of grief you're in over this incident, it's okay. And processing those feelings is a really important part of this. So however you normally do that, whether it's talking it out or journaling, do that.
Do that.
Process the emotions.
Yeah. And allow yourself to process them without judgment when you can. Okay, step number 2 is to talk it out. Sounds so simple, but it isn't, right? That is not simple. So if you are not the type of couple that can have those hard conversations, because not everyone is, then maybe you need to reach out, right? Maybe you need a third party.
Yep.
Hire a coach,
Yeah.
Hire a counselor, hire a therapist. The worst thing that you can do at this time, is to allow resentment to build up and to kind of sweep it under the rug, and then it gets bigger and bigger.
And to not talk about it. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So couples that aren't in a habit of having those hard conversations, when something big like this happens, they continue to not talk about it, and that's not healthy. It needs to be talked about. So if you are the kind of couple that is able to have those hard conversations, then the first thing you're going to do is sit down, talk it out, and really try to understand what's going on for your partner. What is their reality? What is their experience of this? Before you go straight into explaining what it's like for you or blaming them for what they've done or their part in it, try to listen, hear them out.
Yeah, such a huge part of it, because exactly what you just said, it's so easy to jump into blame, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you did this, you did this, you did this. But if you can step back and listen to what they're saying, you can validate what's true to them. So when you're talking it out, if you are the one who has cheated, Lise, you need to really ask yourself, what led to this? Why did I do this? Was it something missing in the relationship, or was it something missing for me? So basically, is this a relationship problem or is this a me problem?
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's a bit of both.
Could be.
Right?
Yeah, it
Maybe
absolutely
there's
could
something missing in your relationship, or something that you don't feel emotionally or physically connected to your partner, and you also haven't been looking after yourself. And that's what led to the infidelity. You got lonely, you felt alone, or there was just like somebody that was paying more attention to you. Maybe you had a lack of confidence, and you just weren't feeling good about yourself and haven't been investing in your own self-care.
Absolutely. So that is a huge part about talking it out. It's not only talking it about with your partner, but internally, like for yourself.
Yeah. And if you were the one who was cheated on, it's also important to ask yourself, like, what was going on? What were the circumstances happening in our relationship that led to this, right? Because often infidelity, not always, but often it is like a symptom of something that's going on in the relationship.
Yeah.
Again, not always. Sometimes it's just a personal thing that's going on. But ask yourself, like, were we feeling close and connected? Like, were we putting in the time together? Were we prioritizing our relationship? And if not, then maybe this is the time to start talking about what that would look like with your partner.
Yes, absolutely. So controversial opinion here, but we believe that when infidelity happens in a relationship, both parties have some responsibility to hold. And that is not something that everyone agrees with or that sits well with some people, but that's a piece of what we're talking about here when we say talk it out. Talk it out and get an idea of, what was missing, and is there a piece that I'm holding responsibility for?
Taking that radical responsibility can be the first step to this healing process.
Yes, yeah. So Lise, if that's step 2, if step 2 is talking it out, and a big piece of that is listening and validating our partner's reality, then the third step is kind of making a big decision, isn't it?
Yes. It's deciding, like, should I stay or should I go? Like, is there a future for me and us in this relationship? And a lot of people, when they've been cheated on, the first thing that crosses their mind is like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that this betrayal happened and I deserve more, and you probably do. So you know what? Like, I'm leaving. I'm leaving this marriage. This was a deal breaker for me. And that can be a very strong feeling to have in that moment. And
it's not wrong.
No, it's not wrong, right? Maybe that is how you feel. Maybe that deal breaker, that maybe that line was crossed, and so therefore it is over. It is over in your mind, right? And again, that's okay. But ask yourself, like, is that truly what you believe? Is that what society believes? Is that what your religion or your community believes? If you've been cheated on, then you have to leave your partner. And, I would say, we always talk about the old shame, new shame. In the past, I would say that there was a shame in leaving. And now a lot of people feel that there's a shame in staying, right? There's a lot of pressure put on people nowadays. If you've been cheated on, one of the first things people say is, well, like, ditch the person, like, leave. Like,
have some self-respect, like, you deserve more, leave.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about. Like, you can still believe in your relationship and your partner after infidelity.
Absolutely. And, the stats are very varied on it. But what we do know is that it happens a lot. Like, in more than half of relationships, there's some form of infidelity and betrayal. And so really, you got to think about, like, do we want to, continue with this relationship? Do I see a future with this person? And am I willing to put the time and effort and energy into rebuilding? Or is this it? Was that line crossed and we can't come back from this?
Yeah. So when you've made that decision, and maybe the decision is still in progress, this isn't like I can make this decision and
In
be
fact,
done with it.
don't. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
This isn't a decision that's to be made when you're having that crazy stress response or you're feeling
Yes.
really hurt and in pain from the infidelity. For sure, you need to give it some time. So thank you for bringing that up, Liz.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Yes, it's that step 3 is like start thinking about this, but you don't have to have an answer. But whether you are leaning towards like we're gonna stay in this relationship or we're gonna leave and part ways, either way, you're probably going through a grieving process. Grieving, you know, what could have been, what should have been, whether it's with your partner, whether it's maybe with the person that you had like another affair with, whether it's grieving that your relationship is over or just that it has to be a different and new kind of relationship. There's grief.
Yeah,
Grief is
grieving the
happening.
way that you look at your partner now compared to how you did before. Like there is no take backs when it
Yep.
comes to something like this, right? There is only moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, feel it, and it's not right or wrong, and the grieving process is real and it's a part of it. Now you get to really think about like, well, what do I need? So now you need to start to think about some self-awareness pieces. So being really self-aware, what do I need right now so that I can move forward, so that I can start to heal, so I can feel supported and regain my confidence without any regrets in the future.
Yes. That's why step 4 is take care of you. Figure out what it is that you need right now. And when you talk about like regrets, I think what we're talking about is like the people's reaction when they've been cheated on can often be varied. Like think about all the songs that are written about it, right?
Yeah.
About slashing tires and destroying the partner's life and blasting it on social media. This is a time to really ask yourself, like, how can I move forward in integrity and self-respect and not do things that you are going to regret down the road, that you're going to look back on and think like, oh my gosh, I should have just processed my emotions before reacting and doing something crazy. So don't do anything crazy during this time.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
When we say take care of you, we mean take a breath, take some time, take a break, and allow it all to process, right? Taking care of you can mean so many different things to different people. And that's where the awareness piece comes in around what do you need, right?
Maybe you need to go and like get out of town for 2 weeks and go like hike Machu Picchu.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So maybe you need alone time to really think things through. Or maybe you need to be surrounded by people. So like the thing that you need is like a family trip or a friend's trip or something that where you just like get your mind off of it for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
And everyone's different, but I'm going to say that getting involved in something that keeps your mind active and distractive so you're not ruminating and going through the same thing over and over and over is really important. And so is that for you a new hobby? Is that what kind of distraction can be in place to give you some time to allow emotions to be processed?
Yeah. Or if you've let like your fitness regimes or health regime slide, like now's a good time to just like get that back going and have something to focus on and work towards. And that's going to help with your self-confidence. It's going to help with like how your body feels. Like all of that is important. And that's probably even more important than like getting away from it all. It's like stay in it, but make healthy choices, right? So keep processing, but like, work towards something to get that confidence back and that feeling of self and
self-worth.
And asking yourself the big questions along the way.
Yeah. And like, it's not as simple, Lise, as a massage and a bubble bath, but a massage and a bubble bath can be part of it.
Yep. Yeah. That's what she would do.
It is. And it would make me feel better and it would feed my soul and give me some more relaxed space to process what's going on for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So step 5.
Step 5 is the new way, the new rule book. So you have a big choice here. When something big happens in a relationship, something like infidelity, 2 different things can happen. Couples can go down, and we've seen this, couples can go down a path of resentment.
And regret.
Or couples can go down a path of renewal, rebirth, reignition of their relationship.
And that is two pretty clear pathways, right? So it's resentment and regret or renewal, right? I mean, it's you kind of have to decide. So
That's what's key here.
Yeah.
This is a choice.
yeah. So who are you going to be? What type of couple are you going to be? Because, we've all seen what the resentment and the regret look like, right? Often the cheater is the one that sits and ruminates in regret. Like, how could I have done this to my partner? What was I thinking? I'm a horrible human. And they almost become the victim in this case. We've seen that a lot, right? Where they are so hard on themselves that the person who was cheated on ends up having to comfort the cheater, right? So that's that extreme regret route.
And in that same route, the person who's been cheated on is feeling a whole lot of resentment. Like, how could they have done this to me? And everything that's going on is being done to them, instead of them making a choice of, well, what am I going to do now?
And what is the new rule book going to look like? So and chances are you didn't even have an old rule book, which is why this happened
Probably.
in the first place, right? So what is the new rule book? What are the new boundaries? Yes, boundaries, but it's also about who do we want to be going forward? What does a 2.0 version of our relationship look like going
Lise,
forward?
let's talk about that. We talk about a 2.0 relationship a lot. Let's explain what that is.
Yeah, so, all of us are going to have, on average, 2 to 3 to 4, maybe 5 long-term relationships in our life, right? So we call it serial monogamy,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of the new way. And for some people, that's with, 3 or 4 different people. And for some people, that's, 3 or 4 relationships, with the same person, right? Because if you're going to be together for decades and decades, chances are there's going to be a lot of different versions of that marriage throughout that. So I guess the 2.0 is really is it time to say goodbye to that first version of your marriage or your relationship? And the answer to that is yes. If there's been a major infidelity or breach of trust, then it is time to grieve that first marriage. And now you get to choose, do we want to do a second marriage together? What does 2.0 look like? What are the new feelings that we want to have, the new rules, the new commitments that we're going to make to each other, to ourselves, and to this relationship in order to make it even better than it ever was?
That's the second path.